EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the final and rubber game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today: on the mound for the Dodgers, right-hander Ben Kasparius, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. as the Padres go for a series win. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I go one-on-one with Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla. Our keys to the game, a full breakdown of today's pitching situation for both the Padres and the Dodgers. And in just a little bit, we check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations: La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres enter today 38-28. Dodgers are 40-28. Padres trail LA by 1 game for first place in the National League West. The Giants currently sit between them. Giants are a half game back of LA. This is the 3rd of 7 games the Padres and Dodgers will play before the end of next Thursday. They wrap up this first series of the year here today. Monday night was a doozy of a game. Last night, little bit different kind of a ball game. In a good way, though, for the Padres. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a scoreless game going to the bottom of the 3rd. Luis Arraez got the offense going.
Started and stopped. Arraez hits it into right field and a base hit. It's down the line. Fernando rounding second on his way to 3rd. Hernandez gets to it. Tim Leeper going to wave him. Here's the relay from Tommy Edman, and it is not in time. RBI double Luis Arraez. Padres strike first. It's 1-0.
Padres weren't done. Manny Machado is next.
And he swings, loops it into right center field. Pages over, not going to get there. Drops down at a base hit. That'll get Arraez home from second. Manny Machado an RBI single, and it's 2-0.
They weren't done. Jackson Merrill then dug in.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. Merrill swings, hits it hard over Freeman down the right field line. Now it's Manny's turn to burn around the bases. On his way to 3rd, he's going to be waved. Hernandez just gets to it, sends it into Edman. It'll roll to Freeman. Machado scores, and Merrill standing at 3rd. It's an RBI triple and a 3-0 game.
Padres scored another in the bottom of the 4th inning to make it 4-0. Padres struck again in the 5th. It was Manny.
1-0 pitch is a flare over Benson to left center. Arraez got a great read. He's rounding 3rd on his way. There will be no throw to the plate. Another RBI single for Machado and a 5-0 Padre lead.
In the 6th inning, they kept on going. Martin Maldonado led off.
He swung on and hammered to deep left field. Conforto will turn to watch this one. Gonna go! Oh, that is one sweet ambush against Matt Sauer. And Martin Maldonado, his 3rd home run of the year, makes it 6-0.
Later in the 6th inning, it was the X-Man.
The 0-1 is lined into center field. That's a base hit. Arraez has scored. Merrill speeding home. He will score as well. Xander Bogaerts adds on. A 2-run single in the 6th, and the Padre lead is 9-0.
A 4-run 6th inning, a 9-0 lead. That meant the Dodgers were allowed to have a position player pitch, so they brought in Kike Hernandez. In the 7th, Manny struck again.
And he swings and hits it in the air to deep left field. Conforto's back at the wall. It's off the wall. Both runs going to come in and score, and a big night for Manny Machado. A 2-run single off the left field fence. The Padre lead is 11-0, and Manny with 5 RBIs.
Padres offense had a grand total of 11 runs on 16 hits. Dylan Cease went 7 scoreless innings, 11 strikeouts. He picks up the win. The final score in the middle game of this 3-game set yesterday, the Padres 11 and the Dodgers 1. And now the Padres go for a series win on this Wednesday afternoon. As we get ready for this one, let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, before we turn our focus to today's series finale, I do want to revisit yesterday's game from the Dodgers side of things. It was interesting. Padres had a 5-0 lead. Dodgers starting pulling some guys out. They allowed Matt Sauer to throw 111 pitches in relief. Tony, just your thoughts on how that game was treated from the Dodger side of things and how that potentially sets them up for today.
Well, they had a decision to make it seem like we know their injuries that they're dealing with, and it seemed like they had made a decision early on, recognizing that there was a scenario in which this game kind of got away from their pitching staff. That seemed like that was already kind of decided and how they were going to work it if the game got into that hand. And so, they saved their pitching so that they could have – it seemed to me that they were saving their pitching so that they could have a chance to win this series today. It was a little, I think, unique in the way that they, pulled guys in the sixth. But given the circumstances that they are under, you can understand why they did it.
And then interesting today, we thought Justin Robleski would start today for the Dodgers. It will be Ben Kasperius opening today's game. Robleski expected to pick up a lot of the bulk innings today. We'll talk more about that later from the Dodgers side of things as far as what they plan to do pitching-wise here today. On the mound for the Padres today, right-hander Randy Vasquez. And Tony, to me, this is an interesting matchup for Randy. He's never faced the Dodgers before. We know the Dodgers, when they're at their best offensively, they're patient. They don't chase a bunch. Randy does have command problems at times. How do you view this matchup today between Randy and this Dodger lineup?
I think it can be tough. If he is not the kind of version of himself that we've seen where it's been 0-1 walks, the Dodgers are the type of offense that can spin that and really turn it against you. And so I think it's incumbent upon him to make good pitches in the zone. Now, you can't just be in the middle of the plate either, because the Dodger offense is good enough where they can put up the type of numbers that the Padres did last night. And so this is I think you hit it on the head. This is a tough matchup for him. I'm encouraged by the way he has thrown the ball coming into this matchup, but he'll have to be at his best, I think, in order to have success against this Dodger lineup.
As far as the offense, the last 2 games, certainly, Tony, it's been very encouraging after what was a really quiet road trip offensively. I'll get to one of the guys I want to focus on in a second, but as a collective offensively, what have you seen the last couple of nights?
Dialed in from pitch one, I think is a thing that has stood out to me, because the offense, there's no comparison in the last 2 days in the way the offense has looked versus the past 2 weeks how the offenses look. And the only thing that you can come up with is that the Dodgers are here, and it has heightened everybody's focus. Not to say that they weren't focused beforehand, but we all know when you are put in a position where you got to lock in, you just have to do it. And so I think that's a big part of it. Now, I think the hope is that after the Dodgers leave town, they have started to create some of those good feelings at the plate again where it can carry over and get back to where we saw it in the first month. But it's hard not to point to the fact that the Dodgers are in town and all of a sudden you're seeing the offense return in the way that we saw it in the first month.
Tony, let's focus on Fernando Tatis Jr. to wrap up here. There's nothing out of the box score the last couple of days that will really stand out as mind-blowing. However, last couple of games, he has 2 hits, he has 3 walks, a hit by pitch, 2 stolen bases, he scored 3 runs. He is doing things to help the Padres win games, even if he's still not really clicking offensively yet. What have you seen from him the last couple of days? Are there signs of Fernando coming around?
Yeah, his at-bats have been way better in these last 2 games. And I go back to the focus thing because, I think for all players, when they are going through a rut, the focus can be so much on getting out of that rut that you forget about just going out and competing and finding ways to help your team win. I think that's what you're talking about there, Sam. I mean, he's not done anything that has jumped off the page or has been as explosive as we saw early when we were talking about him at the top of the MVP list. But in these last 2 games, really, you could go back last 3 games, you started to see a change. The at-bats have been better. The focus from pitch 1 has been better. And so you get the walks, you get the hit by pitch, you get the stolen bases. He's finding other ways to impact the team, even though he's not quite himself yet. And I think that's been a big change. I'm hopeful that can continue moving forward.
Tony, good insight as always. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 1 p.m. for the final game of this 3-game set against the LA Dodgers. As always, thanks so much.
No problem, Sam.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 1:10. And again, we go out to Jesse and Tony at the very top of the hour. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. And you can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube page. You can let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. If you want to give me a key to today's game, you can do that as well as the Padres go for a series win against the LA Dodgers. Padres could, if other results shake out, could with a win today tie the Dodgers for first place in the National League West. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back, what would have to happen today in order for the Padres to do that. And a little bit later, I go one-on-one with the great Padres pitching coach, Ruben Niebla. We talk about Dylan Cease's outing last night, Randy Vasquez, the bullpen, and much, much more. First pitch coming up at 1:10. Our pregame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 1:10 here in downtown San Diego. Final game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the LA Dodgers. I go one-on-one with Ruben Niebla in just a little bit. We talk pitching with Ruben. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in just a little bit as well. Well, I want to wish a very happy birthday to Steven. Happy birthday, Steven. A couple of guys who always come up, say hello inside the Western Metal Building. Loyal listeners of our pre- and post-game coverage. So happy birthday, Steven. Hope you have a great time at the ball game here today. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Day game after a night game, so no pregame media availability for Mike Shildt today. So let's revisit what Mike had to say after yesterday's game. Obviously, a very nice win for the Padres. 11 runs on 16 hits. Dylan Cease was very, very good as well. 7 shutout innings. He struck out 11 productive days for Luis Arraez, for Fernando Tatis Jr., for Manny Machado, who had 5 RBIs. Xander Bogaerts had 3 hits and had a couple of RBIs as well. So a good day for the Padres offense, for Dylan Cease. Here was some of what Mike Shildt had to say after last night's win.
But Dylan was really good. We got into that starter 7-inning spot that is really important to us. And obviously we were able to open it up with a lot of relentless at-bats throughout, top of the lineup, carrying the weight for the most part down through Bogey, but whole team effort. Malty contributed the 9, but yeah, it was important.
Cease getting to be this guy, how important would that be for you guys here?
Huge.
Okay.
Huge. And the way he did it tonight is a great blueprint for it. Dominated 0 and 1-1 counts. So he's just, first three pitches were 2 out of 3 were almost all strikes. So he does that. It's earlier outs. It's sets him up for the strikeout that he clearly has and wants, but also allows him to get earlier outs, which wins for 100 pitches, 7 innings. That's pretty much the recipe.
And this other one's fairly obvious, but you've been kind of haven't gotten it a whole lot. Is the top of the order all contributing?
Yep, that's right.
Like 11 runs is the kind of thing that can happen when that. I just wonder how big that is.
It's huge. It's there's 2 big milestones that happened again tonight. We got the starting pitching, and that's how you really ultimately put together and win games, and allow your bullpen to be rested. And contributions for the top of the lineup. Toddy sets the tone. Fantastic, just a force in every aspect of the game with the bat in his hand on the bases. Louis got his magic wand going. Manny's being Manny, and Jackson looks like who he is, and Cease continues to take good at bats, and Bogey's shooting lined out to center, and could easily had a 4-hit night.
You said Dylan's start was timely for obvious reasons, and I'm wondering if you kind of go into those obvious reasons, just what it means for resetting the bullpen ahead of, as part of a stretch that you guys are in right now.
Yeah, no, that's the, maybe it's not so obvious, but yeah, I need to explain it. The starting pitching, going to be able to go deep in the game is a big part of it. Not to force it, but to be able to do it and do it effectively. So that's a starting point. And then you mentioned the bullpen. Especially in the stretch of games where we are in, you can be a little bit more aggressive with your bullpen if, you're in a stretch where we were at the beginning of the season, first 5 or so weeks where days off were more available, but they're just not right now. So we've been having to, and the guys have been great in the bullpen, as we all know. No bullpen's perfect, clearly, but we've relied on them a lot, and they've picked their spots for them and been able to get them where they need to be for the most part. But that's not a recipe you want to hold on to for a long period of time. And then also coupled with, the offensive numbers that allowed us to go and just Morgan grab the 8th and 9th and have a little breathing room. So all of that's important for those reasons.
When Tatis and Arraez are going like they did tonight, can you speak to the way they maybe kind of play off each other in the way Arise could put the ball in play and Tatis can run?
Yeah, that's when that's exactly what it looks like, right? I mean, Toddy's at the top, absolute havoc. And then now you've got infielders that just don't know where to go with Louis, right? And then they're moving and they're all over the place. Just creates holes for a guy that can find holes even more so. So it's really a dynamic duo. And then you got, oh, by the way, Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill coming up right after that. So what it looks like tonight, the top of our lineup, and they have those bats. Watch out. Here we go.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt yesterday inside the Padres clubhouse talking about yesterday's win. We'll hear post-game reaction from Mike coming up later on our post-game coverage after this series finale. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 1:10. As always, you can get involved on social media. Find me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Same handle on Instagram, DMs open. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. We've got Sean saying, Sammy, great show, listening to you in the 105-degree heat in Arizona, surrounded by Dodger fans. My key to the game is just win, baby, whatever it takes. Well, Sean, a win would certainly be very nice here today. Could put the Padres into a tie for first place in the National League West. We'll talk a little bit later about what has to happen for the Padres to do that here today. First, let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
In the hot category, we focus on Manny Machado. It's been that way for a while. Last 18 games, Manny hitting .375 with an 1126 OPS, 7 home runs, 3 doubles, and 19 RBIs in those 18 games. In the midst of an 8-game hitting streak, batting .471 with 3 home runs, 12 RBIs in those 8 games. Manny's .325 batting average ranks second in the National League. He's also top 8 in OPS at .898. He is putting together a tremendous first half of the season and had 5 RBIs in yesterday's game. In the not category, we focus on Gavin Sheets today. Gavin only 2 for his last 18. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 1:10. A quick look at the Padres lineup here today. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arise at first base batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Jackson Merrill in center batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets, the left fielder, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at DH batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Jose Iglesias at shortstop batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado doing the catching and batting ninth. Big game after a night game catching for Martin Maldonado, and right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound today. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later, but an interesting headline from the out-of-town scoreboard today. If I were to ask you who has the lowest ERA in the major leagues, who would you say? Would you say Chris Bubic, who has a 1.43 ERA, takes that into his matchup with the Yankees today? Bubic will have to tame Aaron Judge, who has hit 3 home runs with 7 RBIs across his last 2 games. Judge is 5 for 8 with a home run in his career against Bubic, and he's been very, very good. But again, if I were to have asked you that, who has the lowest ERA? Would you say the Kansas City left-hander? I don't think so. So just a note on that, on what's been a terrific season for him so far. A couple of other notes. The Angels placing Chris Taylor on the 10-day IL because of a broken left hand. He suffered that injury in yesterday's game when he was hit by a pitch. The Cardinals putting Brendan Donovan, or I should say not on the IL, but putting, or I should say Donovan is out of today's game with left toe discomfort. Very important player for the Cardinals. He's played mainly second base this season, also plays a little outfield, so he hopefully for the Cardinals will avoid an IL stint, and a couple of headlines on a couple of injuries, and that's a quick look at headlines from around the major leagues. When we come back, I go one-on-one with Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla. We also have our keys to the game, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more to do as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 1:10. It's the Padres and the LA Dodgers coming your way on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, San Diego, it's Woodsy. My family discovered the
Back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 1:10, right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Ben Kasparius will be the opener for the Dodgers today. We'll talk more about what the LA plans are pitching-wise coming up a little bit later on. And in just a minute or so, you'll hear from Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla. Let's give you the latest on Jason Hayward and also an update on the Dodgers' Freddie Freeman.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
First, an update on Freddie Freeman, who is in the lineup today for the Dodgers, but just something to keep in mind with Freeman. He is apparently managing a quad injury. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts saying earlier today that he may not be running at full speed, so just keep an eye on that. Freeman may not be moving all that well right now, but he is in the lineup today for the Dodgers. As far as the update on Jason Hayward, he is scheduled to begin a rehab assignment with AAA El Paso on Friday. Hayward hit on the field yesterday, took some at-bats against, I believe, who was a minor league pitcher. I'm not exactly sure who it was, but Hayward also out there today doing some running. And again, he is scheduled to begin a rehab assignment on Friday with El Paso. He's been out since May 24th with a left oblique strain. And that's a quick update on Jason Hayward, and also just that note on Freddie Freeman before today's game. Well, Dylan Cease was very good for the Padres yesterday. 7 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts. Interesting matchup here today between Randy Vasquez and obviously a very talented Dodger offense. The Padres bullpen also had a pretty much a day off yesterday aside from 2 innings from David Morgan. So a good reset day for the Padres bullpen in yesterday's win as well. A lot of good to take away from that 11-1 win. I caught up with Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla to talk about Dylan Cease, Randy Vasquez, and more earlier today. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game against the LA Dodgers. And right now I'm joined by the great Padres pitching coach, Ruben Niebla. Ruben, appreciate you taking some time on this Wednesday morning to talk a little pitching. Let's first talk about Dylan Cease. Obviously very good yesterday, 7 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts. What do you feel like Dylan did well yesterday?
Well, I think Dylan did a very nice job. Although 5 walks showed up, he actually did a really nice job controlling counts. He was ahead of hitters on 70. First pitch was like close to 70%. His one-on-one counts were 86%. So he was winning counts. He did a nice job with that. And overall, he had a nice little slider going. And his fastball ended up getting 50% whiff. So that's a good sign of having a 2-pitch combo that he can lean on.
He's talked the past couple of weeks about feeling like he's close to really getting rolling. Do you feel that same way too?
Yeah, I think we've both been talking about it a little bit, that he's working through some things. He worked through some things it's last couple of games. Actually, he's had 1 bad inning that's taken him out of those good games. But I think we're having good bullpens. We're having good sessions overall in between games, we feel pretty good where he's at right now.
Randy Vasquez on the mound today for the Padres. Generally for Randy, what are the keys for him in a start like this?
Well, one of the things that makes Randy different or special is the ability to crisscross both sides of the plate with pitches. So he has a fastball, cutter, 2-seamer, slider, curveball. So he has those pitches, and he's able to go to both sides of the plate with them. And so that's how he's able to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat. And that's what he's done great for us this year. And there is been some times when Randy doesn't have the best command, but he always seems to figure out, a way to get that off contact and pitch out of situations. So expecting a little bit of the same thing today is hopefully not going to generate a lot of swings and misses, not against this team, but hopefully we can get at some off contact.
You mentioned Randy not always necessarily having the best command. He also tends to deal with base runners, but to his credit, so many times this season has found his way out of situations. To you, what's been the key for him in that sense, getting out of jams?
So I think it's a very similar concept, is that, Randy has the ability to throw 3 fastballs, as we would say, the 4-seamer, the cutter, and the 2-seamer. So he has 3 pitches above 90 that are going in different directions. And when you're able to have this, you're able to get some pitches that are off contact, and he knows that, and he's very comfortable in that setting. Obviously, we're working hard at making sure that he's not getting himself in those situations. Randy's very young per se, and in these situations, and him being a guy that we're looking at, but at the same time, as he's learning, he's also doing a great job competing, and so we couldn't be happier with it right now.
Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get ready for today's game. Obviously, it goes without saying, this Dodger lineup, they have some future Hall of Famers at the top. It's a deep lineup. What are some of the challenges, complexities of facing this lineup, especially as often as you're going to see them over the course of the next week or so?
I think, that's a lineup we respect over there, that we know they have good hitters, especially the top part of the lineup. But it really is one of the things that we strive to do is making sure we're not putting unnecessary runners on base. But at the same time, there's certain guys in their lineup that we're willing to be able to put on base to be able to find our better matchup. But at the end of the day, execution wins. I think we have a good plan against them. We pitch them tough. We're not hesitant of throwing, both sides of play, using both sides of play with them. If you execute pitches, you're going to win battles. And the one thing you want to stay away with them is the big inning. And if we stay away from the big inning, we'll be all right.
Finally, the bullpen for the most part this season has been really, really good. It's a fun bullpen to watch. So many electric, high leverage arms in that pen. They've also worked a lot, especially the last couple of weeks. Had a nice rest day aside from David Morgan yesterday. Ruben, as this season moves along, how do you balance keeping those guys as fresh as possible while at the same time acknowledging that each game is important?
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to have as many high leverage pitchers in the bullpen, right? So we feel very strongly that we have a very deep bullpen. We have a nice balance of 3 lefties, 5 righties, a nice balance of guys, in the back end being Reynolds and Morgan of that bullpen, guys that have power to their stuff. So we like what we have right now. Now, being able to balance the workload is very obviously one of the things that we talk about daily, and I'm sure the fans have noticed there's days when some guys are just not available. And unfortunately, yes, we would have loved to use Jason Adam a couple of days ago, but Jason Adam also leads the league in appearances, and he's been working a lot. So one of the things that I do personally on my end is making sure that I'm keeping track of some of the characteristics, some of the pitches, some of the pitch locations, and release point trends that are happening. Because it's a lot of time fatigue is not going to show up in velocity. It's going to show up in effectiveness of your pitches and your command. And so when I start seeing like something's not looking right, it's usually time to give them a rest. And so with Jason, we started picking that up a little bit, but it's not just him. It's making sure that we are taking care of all these guys, because we're going to lead all these guys once we get into September, October, and hopefully that we can keep this core, because this core is pretty good.
Yeah, the core of the bullpen has been fantastic. So many big games where they've come up with big outs in wins for the Padres this season. Ruben, excellent insight as always. We'll talk to you again down the road. Thanks so much. Enjoy the upcoming road trip, and we'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you having me.
That was Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla earlier today inside the Padres dugout. First pitch coming up at 1:10 here in downtown San Diego, the final and rubber game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Dodgers. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, grab a lead, and here's why. The Padres didn't use any reliever aside from David Morgan last night, so their bullpen is fresh for the first time in a while today. If you can have a lead into the middle to late innings today, then it's time to deploy the high leverage arms. Estrada, Morjon, Adam, Suarez, guys like that. Padres have the chance to shorten this game today if they can grab a lead heading towards those middle innings. That's key number 1. Key number 2, the stars being stars. We saw the power of that for the Padres last night. The core 6, Fernando Tatis Jr., Luis Arraez, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth. They had 13 hits, 9 RBIs, and 9 runs scored in last night's game. Before last night, the Padres' core 6 players had combined for more than 6 hits in just 3 of the previous 21 games they had all started. The core 6, those 6 guys have played together 40 times this season. Padres are 12-2 when those players combine for 7 or more hits. They're 11-15 when they combine for 6 or fewer hits. And a shout out to Kevin Acey, who had a lot of that info in today's edition of the San Diego Union Tribune. Also a focus on Fernando Tatis Jr., no RBIs in his last 12 games, so Padres could use some run production from him today as far as an RBI or 2. But the stars being stars in this lineup, we saw the power of that last night. Padres need more of that here today. Key number 3, don't let Ohtani or Freeman leave here with a long ball. Shohei Ohtani has gone a season-high 8 straight games without hitting a home run. He's slashing just .256 with a .333 on-base percentage and a .385 slugging percentage with only 1 home run and 2 RBIs in 10 games during the month of June. So on one hand, he's not very hot right now at all. On the other hand, Again, he's got a season-high 8 straight games without a home run. You could say he's kind of due. Don't let him get one today. Freddie Freeman has gone 26 straight games without a home run, going back to May 11th. He's only had one longer drought in his career, a 28-game stretch back in the spring of 2022. Freeman only hitting .237 with 3 RBIs so far in June. So both those guys have not been super productive. Ohtani and Freeman, don't let them get out of here with a home run or a big-time game. That's key number 3, and that's a look at our keys to today's game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Guardians beat the Reds 11-2 in Cleveland already today. The Phillies beat the Cubs 7-2. Home run for Kyle Schwarber in that game. Pirates beat the Marlins 5-2 in Pittsburgh. Andrew McCutchen hit a home run in that win for Pittsburgh, and in the process, he passed Roberto Clemente on the Pirates' all-time home run list. Games going on right now. Braves 6, Brewers 1 in Milwaukee in the 7th inning. Blue Jays 5, Cardinals 2 in St. Louis in the 5th inning. Mariners leading the Diamondbacks in Arizona 1-0 in the 1st. Games yet to begin. A's and the Angels coming up at 1:07. Tigers and the Orioles at 3:35. Rays and the Red Sox at 4:10. Nationals in New York against the Mets at 4:10. Yankees in Kansas City at 4:40. Rangers and the Twins in Minnesota at 4:40. White Sox and the Astros at 5:10 in Houston. Giants and the Rockies later today at 5:40 in Colorado. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. When we come back, a full breakdown of today's pitching matchup and more. First pitch coming up at 1:10 on the Padres Radio Network.
You're This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game are Fernando Tatis Jr. and Xander Bogaerts starting to get it going. Xander Bogaerts had 3 hits last night and 3 balls hit at an exit velocity of 105 miles per hour or higher. It was Bogaerts' first game with 3 exit velos of at least 105 miles per hour since 2014. How about that? Bogaerts also had his first RBIs in 12 games last night. Meanwhile, Fernando Tatis Jr., as we talked about earlier with Tony, has quietly had a solid last 2 nights. Nothing explosive offensively, but he is doing some things. Tatis had 2 hits, 3 walks, a hit by pitch, 2 stolen bases, and scored 3 runs in the first 2 games of this series. So, are we seeing Xander start to get it going? Are we seeing Fernando starting to get it going? Keep an eye on that today, what those 2 guys do in this Padres lineup. That's what to watch for in this series finale. Let's preview our pitching matchup. It's Ben Kasparius opening for LA against Randy Vasquez for San Diego.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Ben Kasparius on the mound for LA to start. 26 years old. He's 4-1, a 2.93 ERA in 21 appearances, 40 innings, 44 strikeouts. His last appearance, he pitched an inning in St. Louis over the weekend, gave up 2 earned runs on 5 hits in a single inning. His longest appearance this year was 4 innings in early May. He threw 70 pitches in that game. He's thrown 40 or more in 6 appearances so far this season, so he should be able to give the Dodgers, if they want, at least a couple of innings today. This will be the first time the Padres see Kasparius. He came up late last year and did pitch in the postseason, but the Padres never faced him. Left-hander Justin Robleski, his second year with the Dodgers, he's expected to also throw today, probably pick up some bulk innings. 3 outings in the majors this season. Mixed results so far. Made a start against the Cardinals last Friday, went 6 innings, allowed 4 earned runs on 6 hits. Robleski has a 7.20 ERA in 15 innings so far this season. Padres have never seen Robleski. Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres, 3-4, a 3.69 ERA in 13 starts. His last start in Milwaukee, 4 2/3 scoreless innings. His start prior against the Pirates gave up 4 earned runs in 3+ innings. That came after a month of May where Randy had just a 2.89 ERA in 5 starts. As always, limiting walks for Randy is a big key. He's walked 7 in the last 2 starts. That comes after walking only 3 in his 4 starts prior combined, and this will be the first ever meeting between Randy Vasquez and the LA Dodgers. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. When we come back, it's Jesse and Tony. First pitch, all the play-by-play on the Padres Radio Network.